I'm ready when you are.
All right, we're online. Welcome everybody to another episode of the Strat Football Show. We're going to be taking a look today at the SOMIFA finals. We're going to do a preview. I'm joined as always by, well, not as always. Sometimes we do one without each other, but that's all good. But joining me today is Tom Cook, my co-host. Tom, say hello.
Thank you for that, Dennis. Such a nice introduction. Hello, everybody. This is Tom Cook. Dennis is doing yeoman's work here with a mid-afternoon broadcast on the West Coast for him. I have more free time on my hands. And we're going to talk about SOMIFA Bowl 12. How do you like that, Dennis?
I like it.
Pitting the 13-3 Dallas Cowboys under their outstanding head coach, Zeb Strong, and the 14-2 Tennessee Titans under their excellent head coach, John Madden. Not the John Madden, but his name is John Madden. So do what you want with that information. Is there anything right off the bat that you want to talk about, Dennis, or that jumps off at you about these teams, or anything like that?
Well, defense wins championships, right? Both of these teams were the top two teams in points allowed, so maybe that lends credence to that. Both of the, I think Ed pointed this out, you pointed this out, they were really like tiers of teams this year, and these two teams were certainly in that top tier, and Zeb knocked me out, and I thought my team was one of the teams that was in that tier as well, and John kind of rolled over Tim, who may have overachieved from the lower tier. He jumped up and had a chance to reach. These two teams certainly both deserve to be there, and it's going to be a good game.
Yeah, I think you're right about that tier thing. I remember Tim mentioned it before the semifinals. I think he wrote on the Strat forum. A lot of people felt that Tennessee at 14-2 and your Seahawks and Zeb's Cowboys each at 13-3 not only were the top teams in terms of record, but in terms of, the personnel, the talent, the well-roundedness, the coaching, everything that goes into having a great strat team or excellent strat team, and that the rest of the team seemed to be lagging behind. Buffalo, we talked about before you played them, was the team that maybe could have jumped up in there. Then you have some coaches with some great pedigree, like Ed and Paul Mankiewicz. Their Niners and Texans would not have surprised anybody to overachieve. But once we started playing the games in the field, we saw that those top three teams were pretty much having their way with the rest of the field until, of course, two of those teams played each other. So it's a battle of two top-tier teams. When you and Zeb played that game that you called so well, and a lot of people were very interested to see inside of a Strat football coach's head when he's playing a big game. That was a 27-24 final that was down to the wire, as we know. And the other final of the semifinal, Tennessee 37, Tampa Bay 14. You mentioned Tim, really did a good job with that team, got the most out of that team. Very good offense, very shaky defense. But now we're going to talk about, like you said, two real heavyweights, a clash of the Titans. You mentioned top two teams in the league in terms of fewest points allowed. The Cowboys, Zeb's Cowboys, allowed 268 points. Tennessee allowed 269. No one else allowed under 300 points. So not only are you talking about the top two defenses there, they're 31 points better than the next team, which was your Seahawks. And it's not like these teams couldn't score either. Tennessee scored 487 points. That's over 30 points a game. Dallas scored 455. That's about 28 points a game. They're both in the neighborhood of plus 200 when you look at points for and points against. So you were in that neighborhood too. Again, you were in that top tier with them. So, really, you really are talking about two teams that absolutely deserve to be here.
Yeah, it's interesting. If you look back, they played in the regular season. That was a game that Tennessee won 38-30. It looks a little bit similar to the Super Bowl, where the Cowboys led by 10 points in the third quarter, 27-17, and then the Titans rolled off three consecutive touchdowns to take a 38-27 lead, and the Cowboys could not close it any closer than a single score, with the final being 38-30. So this game could be, both the quarterbacks are excellent. Josh McCown against Ben Roethlisberger. Both teams have dynamic running games with Fred Jackson and Donald Brown for the Cowboys against Jamal Charles for the Titans. So there's a lot of weapons here. There's a lot of great defensive players. It's gonna come down to who makes the right calls at the right time and gets the roles he needs.
Yeah, it's interesting. I briefly reviewed that box score that you just referred to from Week 12, 38-30 Tennessee. As you mentioned, Dallas had a 24-10 lead in the first half. They had a pick six, a 78-yard pick six for a touchdown in that game. If you look at the yardage in that game, the Titans outgained Dallas by about 100 yards, even though they called a very similar number of plays. It was 63 plays for Tennessee, 67 for Dallas, but a big difference in the yards per play. The Titans at 6.9 yards per play. Dallas at only 5 yards per play, even though the first downs are very similar. That screams big plays to me. I see that Big Ben had a 47-yard touchdown to Jamal Charles in that game, and Jamal also had a 33-yard run. Big Ben's average game was 8.1, whereas Josh McCown was only 6.3, and the rest of the numbers were fairly similar or comparable. We know that Zeb has run that West Coast attack with Josh to great success. Maybe John's been a little more willing to throw it down the field. I don't know. So let's get into the personnel matchups. Now that we've talked about a little bit of history, and I'm going to look at the 14-2 Titans. I think first. I think we often go the other way, and I will say crazy things to fill time while my computer decides it's a good time to load the Titans computer manager. And there we go. Okay. Big Ben at quarterback has an excellent card. Interesting since Todd Haley got there, and they went to more of a ball control passing scheme and less of the Bruce Arians downfield approach. Big Ben's completion percentages have gone up, and he's gotten the flat pass cards to go with that. He's maxed out on flat pass wrong, although the interception split is just an incompletion. He's got 3 to 7 complete flat pass right. That's pretty nice. So you can definitely go for your West Coast with him if you want. Then he's also got 14 units short pass right, 18 on wrong. I like to see that number a little higher. So I mean, Big Ben, it's really more of a West Coast type of card, but you can definitely take some shots with him. He's got 7-11 down the field. Then of course Jamal Charles, one of the best backs in the NFL in recent years. His card not quite as good as some of the cards of recent years, but that's only because those cards are so outstanding. I mean, this is still a strong card. This is a card that can move the chain of the short gains, can get yardage on right, and can still break the big run. So I mean, this is a card that brings a lot to the table. And then he has a very good receiving card, great short pass card for a running back. He can even go deep and go all the way pretty much. 71 is longest on 3. I didn't see if he has a dot, but who cares really when you can go 71 yards. And that flat pass wrong card is just, he's got plus 16, plus 15, plus 12. I mean, even on right he's getting his 6, 10, 9, 8 yards. So he's a multifaceted weapon. Andre Johnson is a maxed out receiver, flat and short. I'm not sure about long. Tequan Underwood, a downfield threat. Greg Olson's got a pretty nice overall, tight end type of receiving card. Tony Fiametta is a blocking back. Garrett Graham is a second tight end. And by the stats, it looks like, and by the playoff results, it looks like John does like to go to the vaunted 2 tight end, 2 wide receiver, 1 running back formation. Offensive line 6'6" on the left side with 7s, a couple of 4s at center and right guard, 5'7" at right tackle. So you got 4 7s in the pass blocking. You got a 4-4 at center. So that's an interesting looking offense. You want to take a look at that Dallas defense and tell me how you see the matchup there?
Sure. Dallas, we pulled up their community manager. Their defense is anchored by Calais Campbell, defensive end 6'9". Well, let me just go straight across. Zeb runs a 3-4 defense, so his defensive line is 6'5'5". His linebackers are 4-4, 6-4. His strength is in the secondary with 3 5s and a 6, and that 6 is Richard Sherman. His pass rush is very good from the linebacker spot. The only guy on the line that can cause you trouble is Campbell. So basically, if you have any kind of defender challenge in the secondary, he's probably going to make the play. You need those sixes to come up against his fives. And Ed does a great job of double teaming, blitzing, and mixing things up. So the key against Zeb is to try to take advantage of the holes that he'll leave open while he's those double teams and the blitzes. You just got to kind of guess the right way on where he's going to expose himself.
What's interesting as I'm looking over this Cowboy defense in terms of a matchup for the SOMIFA Bowl is, he's got, those sevens on the Titans. His whole pass blocking line is a 7 except for the center. Now, the 7 center is going to be blocking nose tackle Broderick Bunkley, who's a 5-0, so that's not going to be a problem for Tennessee. And then, a 7 against a 9, that's even a 7 against a 12, that's not like a great matchup for the defense. If Zeb brings multiple blitzers, he's going to maybe try and jack that up to a 15, or to a 12. But I don't see a lot of sacks coming out of the Cowboys this game, despite a pretty good pass rush, just because of all those sevens. Sevens are awesome on the Tennessee line. Now, with all those 4s at linebacker and with Big Ben, I imagine that Tennessee is going to try and, run Jamal Charles, throw their screen passes, mix in short passes to guys not covered by Richard Sherman, and work that way. I guess he does like to throw some bombs. I think you'll see Jamal Charles getting a lot of action downfield as he's covered by a 4, no matter what formation John goes to, because it's 4s at both outside linebackers. And that's interesting. The threat of Jamal Charles in the passing game may make it harder for Zeb to blitz these outside linebackers. He may have to double to prevent Charles from going off. And that's going to help John with the flat passing game. It's going to help him throw short passes to Greg Olsen and to his split end. And it's going to help him do running plays with Jamal Charles. So there are things there for John to look at. My concern would be too much dinking and dunking. He's going to need like a big run from Jamal Charles, a big play, I think. Because, sometimes when you go West Coast and too dink and dunk, you get a lot of yards, you get a lot of first downs. You don't get field goals. You don't get touchdowns. You get those field goals, and the other guy returns a kick or something, and now you feel like you're on your heels a little bit.
Yeah, and can Zeb call run at the right times to stop Charles? And likewise, it's the same thing for John. Can he call run at the right time to get Fred Jackson and Donald Brown on the right card? So it's, that's what you love about Strat. Can you make the call to stop your opponent? Can you make an impact on the game by making a correct call?
Yeah, and if we head over now to the other side of the field, we're going to have about a total of a half-hour show. Folks will be with you about another 15 minutes. This is solely the SOMIFA Bowl preview, SOMIFA Finals preview, whatever language you want to use. Cowboys offense. You got Josh McCown, excellent card, one of the best cards in the set. Very strong, pretty much at everything, I believe. When you look at this card, the flat passing, 5 isn't incomplete on wrong. I didn't realize that. It's still a strong card. The short passing, 2, 5, 10, 4, 17 units guess right, 23 guess wrong. A 17-23 short pass card for a no-name quarterback. That's a lot better than Big Ben's card. That's a good thing for Zeb. And even down the field, sometimes these guys only get a couple hundred attempts. They're backups. They play well. The card they get good flats. Maybe they get a few hits on short, but the long pass is not going to do much. But Josh has got 6 units on right, and then he's got 11 on wrong. He's got a long gain on 5 right and wrong, so you can take some shots downfield if they're there. And he doesn't turn the ball over pretty much at all. Even long pass right, 11 picked off 2 to 4. So that's a great thing. Fred Jackson always gets the same card. Has short gains in the middle of the card, good yardage up and down, solid on right. Not usually, doesn't always have or rarely has the explosive long runs. And again, this year is no exception. He's got a 12 plus 59 on off tackle. Otherwise, nothing on this card is longer than a short gain. And that's the type of player he is. You can be very effective with that. But that is a bit of a difference in the lead back for each team's ground game. However, when Donald Brown comes in, and he does get used quite a bit, he's a little more of a chunky back. He's got some long runs, not as good on right, doesn't have quite as many short gains as Freddie does on wrong. But I really think in some ways, if you look at the matchup, whoever gets the long run, and you would have to favor Charles in that situation, that's going to be a big deal. You look at this offensive line for the Cowboys, all 5 run blocking except for the left tackle, Marcus Cannon, who's a 4. He's got a couple of 7s there at center and right guard, but he's got 5s at right tackle, left guard, and the left tackle is only a 4. So I think I have to double check that Tennessee plays a 3-4, but if they do, the right end and the high linebacker could have some good opportunities. Des Bryant.
Let me jump in there, Tom.
Sure.
This is what the key matchup I think in the game is left tackle Marcus Cannon and his 4.4 rating up against Robert Quinn and his 6.12 rating. That's going to be where the game's won and lost. If Zeb can hold off Tennessee from getting those sacks with Quinn, that's going to be a big deal.
Yeah. I mean, Robert Quinn, 6'12", had 5 sacks in the game against. Who's that against? Is that against you? No.
No.
That's against
Tim.
Against Tim. He had 5 sacks in that game. I don't see a good blocking back here for the Cowboys either. Even a worse situation, I think, than that was against the Niners that he had the 5 sacks.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So it's even a worse situation than the Niners faced. So yeah, and not only that, but Zeb likes to play the ball control West Coast offense. So a sack against him, I think, is even more devastating because he's not fond of going downfield. I think with this team a lot. Freddie's got the short gains, but not the plus 23s and stuff like that. Well, the short gains certainly help a lot. So that's a great call, a great thing on your part to look at. You get Des Bryant maxed out receiver. The rest of the receivers not so great. I mean, Freddie's got a good receiving card. Chris Givens, Ryan Griffin, Dennis Pitta, Luke Wilson. None of these guys are terribly scary. Let's take a look at that Titans defense. Why don't you guide us through that?
Yeah, okay, so you have, again, 6.55 up front. His linebackers are 5, 5, and 6. His cornerbacks are 6 and 4. The 4 is going to be matched up against Des Bryant, and the strong safety is a 5, with the free safety being a 4. So Zeb would love to go to be able to go up to Luke Wilson or Ryan Griffin, but they're both going to be covered by either a 5 or a 6. So he's not going to get much luck there. John will be double teaming Des Bryant a lot. So what are you left with? You're left with Julian Edelman covered by a 6, Fred Jackson covered by a 5 or a 6, depending if he goes blocking back or 2 tight end set. So it's going to have to come out with. It's going to come down to him being able to move the ball with his run game and get John to call run in order to hit those receiver readings on the guys that he does find open.
Yeah, looking at this Tennessee front 7, it's pretty formidable. 5, like you said, 5-5-6 on the line, 6-5-5-5 in the linebacking crew. That's a big difference, I think, when you look at what Tennessee brings there and when you look at what Dallas brings there. I mean, Zeb, if he likes to go West Coast, this is a tough crew to go West Coast against. I mean, they can stop you with occasional run readings or right run calls. Plus, you're not going to get a long game with your backfield with Freddie Jackson. You're going to get positive yardage, short gains. Tough linebacking crew to go flat pass against. He's going to be double teaming Zeb aggressively, like you said. I mean, the only 4s of the defense are the free safety in the right corner, and they're going to be working in tandem a lot. And the pass rush situation, you talked about Robert Quinn. That's a great matchup for the Titans, but then also, if he can blitz either outside linebacker, that's Ahmad Brooks, 6'11", at the left outside, or Jason Worlds, 5'12", at the right outside, and he's going to be going up against the left guard 5. So that's another good matchup, and I think the offensive right tackle for Zeb is only a 5 pass blocking, and he's going to have to block Carlos Dunlap, who's a 5'8". So a 5'8", a 5 versus 8 is something where you can realistically get a sack. I think it used to be 2-6 with the old charts, but it's still a decent sack chance. So I'm really liking this matchup of the Titans defense against the Cowboys offense. Cowboys going to try and, like you said, if it was the NFL, get some play action. He's got plenty of carries with Fred Jackson, Donald Brown, maybe take some shots to Dez. John's always going to be watching out for that, so that's going to be interesting.
All right. Well, I thought we'd take a quick second. I'm going to autoplay this game. I've loaded the CMs. I've changed their play calling from the default SOMIFA one, where it only calls pass, to a more realistic one. So we're going to autoplay it to 1 minute remaining in the game, and see what the computer says who's going to win. 24, 21, 28, 24, 35, 24. It looks like the simulation has the Titans winning the game 35-24. So there you go. We'll see how close that is. The Madden simulator correctly predicted the Super Bowl score, so
That's
we'll
correct.
see if the Stratomatic simulator is equally as accurate.
And before we go, a quick word on special teams. Dallas got Travis Benjamin, a very good number one punt return. They got a touchdown on 2, 15 yards on 4, 23 yards on 9. Number 2 back is okay. Julian Edelman's got a plus 21-yard gain on number 9. Not much of the kick return game for either team. The punt returning is pretty dangerous. And Tennessee's got Devin Hester, of course, with a pretty solid card. Touchdown on 2, not an outlandish card, pretty solid card. Dallas can have their punt blocked with Matt Bosher. This has been the postseason of punt blocks we've seen so far. And so,
Wait, I have to interject here.
Okay.
I was wrong. The game wasn't over at 35-24. I guess that was just a score as it was simulating. So let me share my screen again. This is exciting. This is some good stuff here. Check this out. It simulated it down to a minute left. It's 35-30. The Titans are winning, and just like the Super Bowl, the Cowboys are on the goal line. So let's see what the computer calls. I'm just going to push the buttons here. Put my thing up to high performance here.
Clickety click.
And then we're going to go high performance. Get the screen brightness up. There we go. It's a run.
Oh.
And this time, Marshawn Lynch. Fred Jackson scores the touchdown to put the. Oh no, I guess that was a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. So now it's pretty much over. So the final score here, 35-32.
They did not recover the onside kick.
They did not. So they had the Titans winning 35-32. You had
what's the guy's name? Byron Bostic is not on the. He's obviously not on the Tennessee special teams.
Yeah, Fred Jackson running for 205 yards and Jamal Charles running for 166.
Nice.
So there you go.
Strat.
So
So it's time for our predictions. We've only got a few minutes left here. Who goes? Have you been keeping track of our prediction? We didn't get to predict the semifinals. No, I don't think, did we?
We did not. I'm pretty sure you're still 2 games up on me. So you win the contest no matter what happens here.
As is appropriate. I'm going to go. Let's see, Tennessee, Dallas. Boy, you pick first. I need to think.
I am going with Zeb Strong and the Dallas Cowboys pulling off a mild upset and taking down Madden and the Titans. I have been talking. John's been asking me some questions about how linebacker containment works, trying to get those last little details worked out. So that might give him the last little bit of strategy he needed to take down Zeb. But Zeb's, man, he's tough. He's tough in those critical situations. I think he'll run the ball enough to neutralize Robert Quinn and find the end zone more times than he'll kick field goals.
So it's not. Well,
final score: Dallas 35, Tennessee 31.
So it's not bad enough that you almost jinxed Zeb in the earlier rounds by what did you do? I forget what you did. You picked
I jinxed. I said
it was Zeb. You said something about I forget what you said, but it sounded like a jinx. But the jinx did not come true. Zeb did win the game. So it's not enough that you almost jinxed him earlier. It didn't work. Now you're outright helping the other guy. I'm giving John coaching tips right before the Super Bowl.
No,
fellow Seahawk fan.
Not like that. It's not unsolicited. He asks a question, I give an answer. If anybody asks me a question, even if it's during a game against me, I'm going to give them a straight and honest answer. So
now, John, nothing personal, but you might want to look into the linebacker run containment rule before you get to the finals. I'm just saying. It hasn't worked against you, but you know.
No,
Uh,
his question was around whether if you move a free safety or an extra DB in the zone,
ah,
does that rating, that 6 rating or 5 rating, count the same as a linebacker?
yeah, John's probably underscoring and highlighting his career SOMIFA record versus mine after that comment. He's many, many games and many, many winning percentage points ahead of me and has already 2 Super Bowl appearances, whereas I've only made the semifinals once in 12 years. So he can tell me to go stick my comments where the sun doesn't shine as brightly. Time for my prediction. With logic, I like Tennessee. I really like the matchup of their front seven against Dallas. I just got a feeling, just like you do, that the Cowboys are going to pull it off. I'm going to go with Cowboys 30, Titans 27 in overtime.
I like it. I like it. Okay, we got to log off now. I got to get back to work, and the computer's dying. So we'll see you guys.